ANDERZÉN.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to channel ANDERZÉN, and welcome to the 1-year update post head bolt swap on the ML63 AMG. So here she is, my 2008 ML63 AMG that you guys know already, or if you're new to the channel, here you go. 1 year ago, not to this date, but very close, I did purchase this vehicle, and about a week after that ended up diving in and going for the head bolt swap, cam lifters, cam adjusters, and some upgraded hardware from ARP and 63 Motorsports for the cam phaser bolts and for the cam adjuster plates. Since then, it's been an absolute joy to have. It's been super reliable, knock on wood. Haven't had any issues with it, and it's been just an awesome car to have. Powerful, fun, comfortable. It's an easy car to just get in and go, and honestly, it's been fantastic for my family and I to have. As far as externally, it's pretty much the same besides a few stickers put on here and there. Haven't really done anything to it as far as modifications to the outside. Did do the brakes, rotors, and pads when I first got it. The tires are still in really good shape. They're Continental DWS's that were put on fresh before I bought it. I do want to refinish the wheels at some point because the fronts have a little bit of like corrosion and peeling, but besides that, the car's in very good shape. I did replace fog light bulbs, and I think that's about it. Body wise, what I need to do, I need to figure out something for that, and something else that has a little blemish is the kick panel right here, but not that big a deal. So that said, let's go ahead and hop in the car because I'm cold anyways, and let's go for a drive, talk a little bit more in depth about what I experienced with the head bolt job, what it's been like since, any issues, etc. Go ahead and hop in the car. All right, so before I flip you guys back to me and we go on a drive, let me just show you our mileage is currently at 131,435 miles. I believe when we did the head bolt swap, it was at around 121,000 miles, or maybe 120,000. So officially 10,000 miles. And like I said, pretty much a year later, the video that I posted of doing the job in depth is 10 months old. But actually at that point, I won't get into it, but I went through a bit of a hard time in life and losing some very close loved ones, and decided to take a break. But it was after I had bought this car and had already finished the job and everything. I just needed to take a break from YouTube, and didn't post a video for about 2 months after I had actually done the project. So in reality, it is very close to a year of when I bought this car. It just is 10 months since I posted that video. So that said, again, 10,000 miles since. Inside of the car hasn't changed much besides a few crumbs here and there from hauling the family around and just, you know, cruising this thing everywhere and taking it on road trips and all that stuff. But one other thing I guess I should show you guys too before we go on the drive, let's go check out the engine bay. Alright, here she is, the glorious M156. I'll let you guys hear it run for a second here, and then we'll go ahead and shut it off, and I'll give you guys a little more information. Alright guys, so for those that don't know, 6.2 liter M156 engine, ML63 variant. So the only thing different is probably the oil pan, and yeah, don't really know besides that, but overall pretty much the same as any M156 of this era that's in any car. It is an early version, so it does have the metal valve covers instead of the later plastic in the kind of updated versions. Intake manifold on this one was inspected around 120,000 miles, still has a mark on it. I don't know exactly what they did, so I do plan on going through that at a later date, because those do have some issues, if you guys don't know, with corrosion. So we'll be doing that at some point. But as far as what we did, guys, cam adjusters, which there's 4 altogether. Obviously it's a dual overhead cam engine, and each one of those cam adjusters has basically a plate inside and a pin that suffers from wear, you know, the factory ones, and over time it'll basically cause a rattling, and if it gets bad enough it can really damage an engine. It can throw it out of time, and then you got damage to valves, you know, piston slap, etc. So wanted to take care of that while I was in there for sure. The ones that I took out definitely had some signs of wear, and definitely was happy when I saw them and the condition of them that I was replacing them. When I did that, I actually had kind of a bit of an issue. I tried to get some hardware store bolts to replace the cam adjuster bolts, because the factory ones, you're only supposed to use them once, and mine ended up stripping when I was trying to put one of them back. It was literally the last one I was doing. It ended up like basically just not threading, it just kept spinning, and the bolt actually was twisting. So luckily I got it out, but when I saw that from one of them, I decided, okay, I'm gonna pull the rest of them off. Ended up trying my own hardware, and that was a bit of a learning mistake. The hardware that I used ended up being like a millimeter too long, ended up protruding out of the back of the cam adjusters like barely, and it was making contact where it wasn't supposed to, and basically was, you know, if you're looking at it this way, it was making the cam adjuster sit back at an angle instead of, you know, vertical, or you know how it is supposed to be sitting horizontally with the other ones. So that was a bit of a learning curve, but I replaced it with a 63 Motorsports titanium hardware, and the plates are also from 63 Motorsports. Not a sponsor, but they're a fantastic company, and very good people that are running it. So highly recommend them for any 63 parts that you guys need. They got all kinds of cool stuff. It is a bit pricey, but the quality speaks to what you're getting, and that price point, you know, you get what you pay for, and you definitely get some quality stuff from them. So while we're in there, again, the head bolts obviously updated with the newer, you know, superseded part number design. They were a super good deal. They were like 60 bucks for all of them off of Rock Auto, maybe even cheaper than that, I can't remember. They're made by L-Ring, I believe. And while I was in there as well, we replaced the cam buckets from FCP Euro. So those are lifetime. They are not the black series, but they are like the upgraded, or you know, superseded part number for them. So I didn't feel like it was worth it to go black series at this point, because maybe down the road I would like to do some cams on this engine when it, you know, gets a little bit further in development for those. There are some people that are making them right now, including 63 Motorsports and Tazos and a few other people. So maybe at some point when I do that, I'll do the black series lifters, but for now it's doing just fine. Coolant, I'm running Prestone coolant. I know some people will freak out like, why are you not running MB coolant? But Prestone's been around forever. Prestone Platinum I've used in all kinds of stuff, and I've never had any issues with it, never caused any issues to any cars that I've owned. So right now the ML63 is on it, the ML55 is on it, the E420 is on it. The only one that's not yet is the C55, and that's just because I had some leftover MB coolant that I ended up throwing in there one time. But it does have that on the way for it, because I got some upgrades. But anyways, never lost a drop of coolant. I've never seen any, you know, type of leaking or anything from the heads or anything like that. For those that don't know, we did the 1x1 method. It's not an approved method from, you know, Mercedes at this point, although I have heard that at the beginning of all these head bolt dramas, some of the Mercedes dealerships were doing the 1x1 method. I've been verified that through a few techs that I know that were around at that time, and they don't do it anymore, I don't believe. Maybe some do, but they don't say so. But it's not a recommended procedure anymore. However, if you're in the DIY space, you guys have seen it tons of times, whether people are building a turbo build and they're just trying to swap in some ARP head studs or something like that. The one by one method is you know, fairly proven technique if you do it right. And of course, you got to have a little bit of luck on your side with these, hoping that they're in good enough condition that you don't snap any heads off, because that would be a terrible time. And pretty much heads are coming off at that point. And with how tight this motor is in here, yeah, good luck getting the heads out without pulling the motor. So yeah, that would have been a whole nother thing. So to be honest, when I was recording this video, and I know I caught some flack for it in the comments, I didn't really show that much wrenching. I was more so like wrenching, then grabbing the camera, updating, wrenching, grabbing the camera, updating, because I was nervous, man. I was nervous to do this. It was less than a week into my ownership of the car. I had not had any M156 experience before this, and I just wanted to really focus on what I was doing and not try to, you know, keep the camera as the first thing that I was worrying about. So I would kind of wrench, like I said, and then catch you guys up after I did whatever I did. So yeah, it was nerve-wracking cracking the head bolts loose. It's a big kind of weird sensation when you're on it. You got to have a long bar, you're pushing them, and when you do that, you're gonna feel like it's stretching. Like it has a real crazy feeling to it. It's just stretching, and then you'll get a real loud pop, and after that you'll be able to kind of, you know, start loosening it. But that initial, you know, big stretch and then pop is a scary feeling the first couple times it happens. But after we had done, I think we did the passenger side first. After we did that side, it was kind of less scary each time, and got more comfortable with it and a little more confident knowing that that was the sound and the feeling that I was going to hear, and was able to move forward without too much worry. So yeah, luckily all of them came out scathe free. We did have a few that were starting to show some corrosion on the underhead of the bolt. I think the rearmost lower on the passenger side was fairly bad. None of them were terrible, but that one is a little bit concerning, and I think one of the front ones, maybe front top on this side as well, was a little bit concerning. But in all honesty, besides those two, maybe two or three, they were all in really good shape. And to be honest, if I didn't want to search for peace of mind or whatever, probably could have ran them for another 100,000 miles and they wouldn't have been an issue. But for me, it was such a big purchase. This engine is pretty expensive to replace, so I wanted to do what I could to just give myself peace of mind for ownership, so I could really enjoy M156 and not have to have that in the back of my mind every time I was ripping on it or just out and about driving and stuff. I wanted to have full confidence in it, and I do now. It's really earned my trust. It's a fantastic motor. It's a great, you know, drivetrain to work on, I think, for DIYers. It's very DIY friendly in my opinion. It's all pretty easily accessible. I mean, of course, like headers and things like that, good luck on any V8 car. You're gonna have a bit of a struggle, but as far as like getting to spark plugs and the intake manifold and, you know, front pulleys and all that stuff, that's a bit of a tight squeeze. So I would say the M113's got a little bit of an upper hand on that case, just comparing like my C55, M155, and this thing. But there's a lot of this car that would beat those ones as far as easeability and DIY ability, I guess. So yeah, I really enjoy working on this thing. It's a great motor, sounds phenomenal, absolutely a beast, powerful, and yeah, it's been lovely to own and experience. Another thing that I did do at the time of all of this work to the, you know, top end, was replace the fuel injectors. I got a really good deal from somebody that had just purchased them off FCP Euro and was selling them on eBay for like $70 or $80 or something. They even included the receipt, so I can still lifetime them, which is awesome. But yeah, threw those in because that's another common fault of the M156 is injectors getting stuck open after they get old and basically, you know, potentially hydrolocking a cylinder. So other modifications I did basically cut out the mesh inside of the air boxes, kind of make them like rest of world style air boxes, and I put in some dry flow filters. Great investment. They were like 15 bucks and they're fantastic quality. They're just as good as the AEM ones that I have on, or used to have on my C55. So I really liked that modification. That was like one of the best bang for buck things that I did for this car. And then the other modification that I did, the big one, is a tune by Race IQ, which we can talk about more inside the car because my hands are starting to freeze. All right, guys, so as far as tuning goes, the Race IQ tune, it's basically like a stage, I don't know what you call it, like a 1.5, maybe stage 1, not quite stage 2, because I think you would need some type of exhaust modifications for that. But what I basically asked Tony to do for us, if you guys don't know, Tony is the founder of Race IQ, the owner of Race IQ, and a good friend and somebody who's helped me with pretty much all the cars at this point, just as far as knowledge goes and tuning goes. Race IQ is a sponsor of the channel, just to be transparent with you guys if you don't know. But that said, I basically asked Tony to give me a 1-to-1 throttle response, make the tune as efficient as possible. No burble tune for me. I'm like Adam LZ, the no anti-burble tune gang. Like I don't like that stuff. I just wanted efficiency, squeeze out a little bit more power and torque where you could, and just 1-to-1 throttle response is what I was aiming for. And it definitely woke the car up. The car was already a beast before that, but the throttle response is a lot better. You can tell the power band is a lot more linear, a lot smoother, and feels like it definitely picked up some giddy up on the lower end and the top end before and after the tune. So yeah, I fully recommend you guys to Race IQ. I know I'm maybe biased, but in all transparency, I would pick them out of the pick of the litter. In fact, I did. I had offers on the table from all the big names that you guys know. You guys don't know this because it's behind the scenes, but all the big names you guys know, I won't say who they are, but the typical tuners of the Mercedes platform had all reached out to me, and to be honest, majority of them made me feel like it was just kind of like promo for them. They didn't really care about what I was doing with the cars. They didn't show true interest or, like, I don't know, knowledge or care about what I was doing. Like, the enthusiasm that I have for these cars, the passion I have for these cars, didn't show true on their side. But as soon as, number one, Tony was the only one that picked up the phone and wanted to have a conversation instead of just emailing. But as soon as I picked up the phone with Tony, I could tell this guy is for real. Number one, he's being genuine. Like, he's not trying to, you know, surface level at anything. He's kind of being an open book like I am. We're talking, like the first conversation we ever had, we were on the phone for like an hour, hour and a half, just chopping it up. And, you know, towards the end of the conversation, I told him, look, like, I don't need to, you know, because he knew I had other offers on the table. I told him, I don't need to talk to anyone else about anything yet. Like, I want to go, you know, I want you to be the tuner of these cars. Like, I would love for you to be the sponsor of these cars. And yeah, it was a done deal after that. So like I said, I'd pick him out of anybody as far as tuning these cars goes. He's got just as much knowledge as anybody out there as far as tuning these cars, what they need, what to look for, etc. All kinds of Mercedes knowledge in general. And it's just a good guy. The tune has been fantastic, and I guess that speaks even more so to the durability, or what you would call it, of us doing the head bolt job. I mean, it's, you know, it's put through even more of a test now that it's tuned. Before we got into the head bolt job, I made sure I did research and talked to people, messaged Tazos, talked to all of my Mercedes tech buddies, watched a bunch of videos, everything that, you know, you normally do when you're trying to go into a big job like that. Try to do it to a T so that I wasn't making any mistakes. I had a lot of help from all kinds of people when I was getting ready to do this job, and even while I was in the job, I was messaging people, getting help. So like I said, we just tried to do it to a T, didn't try to get too creative on much, just did it to specification, and I'm very glad it turned out well. For having no experience and diving into kind of a crazy job for most people, it was a lot of fun, and I'm super glad that I did it, because I learned that the M156 isn't this scary thing that it's made out to be, or at least was made out to be for a long time in my eyes. So yeah, enough talking, guys. Let's just go for a drive. Let's experience it a bit. let you see and hear the sounds of this amazing machine. Quick little startup action for you. So when I start it, I like to put it in, second key mode and then let it cycle for a second. I do this with all my AMGs, just let the oil pump catch up and then put on the brake, hold the button down, a little fly in here, and yeah, pretty much it. All right guys, we're not gonna go for too big of a drive, but I did just want to show you guys a few launches, a few kickdowns, and yeah, we'll just see what we get into, I guess. One thing that I did really have to get used to when I first got the car, driving back and forth between this and the ML55, still happens here and there, is a shifter being on the column right here. It's much different than, all the floor shifters that I've had. I've never had a car with this besides like driving trucks and stuff, but I actually really like it. It's comfortable, it's smooth. It's just an adjustment going back and forth between cars with floor shifters and this. I always end up reaching in the opposite spot after I've, taken turns driving them back and forth. But overall, I've grown to like it quite a bit, actually. All right, we're at the special secret location that you guys have seen typically used on this channel quite a bit. Give it a quick kick down and then we'll do a 0 to 60 up here in a second. So kick down, foot to the floor. So it takes a second. You really got to punch it to get it to go, but it does a great job when you do so and responds pretty well. All right, next thing we'll do, let's go ahead and get on flat ground. Got no cops around us, I don't think. Fingers crossed. Let's go ahead and launch this thing. I'm just gonna go foot to the floor. ESP is still on. Let's go for it. Woo-hoo. Man, this thing is quick. That was 90 miles per hour like that. Definitely the fastest car of the fleet, which is a bit insane to think about considering kind of how much work I've done to like the C55 and how light it is compared to this. But the all-wheel drive plus 500 horsepower, or somewhere close to that now, this thing is absolutely no slouch. One other thing I really like about this car is the transmission itself. It is basically like they call it an MCT. It's, I guess, similar to a DCT but different. This variant in the ML63 in particular is a little bit different than what you would find, in like a C63 or things like that, just because of the all-wheel drive application. But it's very smooth. It shifts like pretty much lightning fast for what I'm used to. They don't do tunes for this transmission as of now. I don't think they really benefit it much, or the people that have tried them, I don't think they've quite figured it out. But for me, it's, I don't know, it's as good as it gets for what I need. I don't really need it to shift faster. I guess it'd be cool, but yeah, it's totally fine the way it is. I keep it in sport mode pretty much all the time. I keep the suspension as well in sport mode, which is another thing to talk about. This has air suspension if you guys are not familiar. And I've never had a car with air suspension before this, and you do hear some horror stories, especially from Mercedes or European models with air suspension, but I actually really love it. Provides great kind of crossover between comfortability and agility. And honestly, it's a fairly simple system. The air lines are pretty easy to get to. The air pump is pretty easy to get to. And changing out the bags if they do fail is not too crazy of a job, especially in the rear. It's super easy. The front's a little more difficult, but not crazy at all. Just like changing any strut pretty much. And they do have, even from Arnott, who's the go-to aftermarket supplier, Arnott provides a lifetime warranty if you end up replacing them. And if you buy them from FCP Euro, then obviously you're going to get lifetime no matter what. So at some point I will replace them. The rears look like they may have been replaced before. The fronts, I'm not sure, but they've been holding up just fine, knock on wood again. But yeah, they've been doing great. I keep it in sport suspension all the time, and I'm happy with it. It handles pretty surprisingly for how heavy it is and how big a vehicle it is. It can really get down. If the C55 transformed into a big heavy SUV, this is what I imagine it would be. Which I guess is kind of silly, but that's just to me what it feels like. Let's go ahead and see what some of the handling looks like. You also have the paddle shifters too, so you can put it into manual mode. It does have a full manual mode as well. I don't really use it that often, to be honest. I'll do it for you guys real quick. Seven-speed transmission, if you guys didn't know. So yeah, quick click of the paddles and you can pretty much control it how you want to. Paddles are always going to have a bit of a delay. I find that in pretty much any German car of this era, and even nowadays. I mean, there's always going to be some type of latency between clicking a paddle and having a car perform. They've gotten pretty lightning quick nowadays, but for this era it does pretty well for a response from the paddles. But I still think no matter what, if you're just in, you know, sport mode, it's going to shift as quick as it can. The computer is always going to shift quicker than you, and you have pretty good throttle control, or I guess transmission control, if you use your right foot correctly. I find that true with any Mercedes automatic transmission. Some people that aren't used to them or don't know how to drive them, they think that they're like, I don't know, super laggy or, you know, mushy or whatever. But I think you really have to know like the proper technique of feathering the throttle, or you know, like when you're coasting or things like that, where to kind of keep your foot on the gas and how to modulate to keep it where you want it to. And I think you can really get a lot out of them if you do that correctly. But some people just aren't used to that. They're not accustomed to the feeling of even the 722.6 or this 722.9. And they kind of throw it some bad juju. But I think they're great transmissions. Even the C55, before I manual swapped it, I just missed driving manual too much, and I thought it would be really cool to have a manual version of it. But I love the automatic that was in that car. It was fantastic. There was nothing wrong with it per se. I just really missed throwing gears, which is the main reason I swapped it out. That said, go ahead and wrap up the driving portion right here, guys. Catch you in a second for the final thoughts. So guys, all in all, this car has been fantastic. The head bolt job has held up just fine. I don't think we're gonna have any issues with it at this point. You know, 10,000 miles of pretty hard driving, daily duties, road trips, ripping it around. It's been fantastic. I couldn't complain one bit about this vehicle as a whole. I've grown to really love it. My wife and son have grown to love it. My wife and son use it as their pretty much daily vehicle while I juggle the others. Yeah, it's been fantastic. The big reason I wanted to make this video, I've been getting a lot of DMs or comments to ask me, you know, how is it doing? How is the head bolts holding up, etc. So I figured this would be a good, more relevant video for people to chime in, you know, share thoughts, ideas, questions, comments, concerns, people that are wanting to do this job themselves, people that are wanting to figure out more information. I'll do my best to, you know, respond in comments as I always do. And along with you guys, there's a lot of people that are very knowledgeable in the comments that comment to each other and answer each other's questions too. So this can just be a more relevant video rather than the old DIY video where people can ask things and you know, get more knowledge, which is the whole mission of the channel anyways, to share knowledge, gain knowledge, and just, you know, share the passion for these cars that I have. So it's a fantastic platform. I think if you're thinking about getting one of these and you find a good deal, you know, decent mileage, even if it has a lot of miles but it's in really good shape, go for it, you know. I wouldn't hesitate one bit if you check it out and it seems like it's in good shape and it's been taken care of. I wouldn't hesitate one bit to purchase one of these, especially if it's for a good price. Like for instance, I almost bought a second one of these a month ago or so. There was one, a white one with 200,000 miles plus, but it was owned by a Mercedes tech, and it was listed at first for like $11,000. It ended up selling for $6,500 locally. I kind of wish I would have bought that car, to be honest. I would gladly have two of these right now if I bought it for that cheap. I should have, but I have other projects that I need to spend money on or want to spend money on, so I was hesitant. But after it sold, I was kind of like, oh, I should have bought that thing. But hopefully somebody out there got it. Maybe somebody that's watching the channel got it here in Washington. But yeah, it's great. Go for it if you guys are thinking about an M156 at all. Go for it. Just find a good one. Find one that's been cared for. And even if it hasn't been, it is still in good shape and you're a DIY person, that's a negotiating chip. So bargain it down, make yourself comfortable with the price, and go find one that you can rip and enjoy, because they are absolutely legendary drivetrains. So that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry for rambling so much, but it's hard not to when you're speaking about something you're so passionate about. So hope you guys understand. I will catch you guys on the next video. Appreciate all of you. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.